Hello there, and welcome back to Warthen aboard the USS New Orleans of the New Orleans class in its 1945 configuration. It is a US Tech 3 heavy cruiser at battle rating 5.7 at rank 4. And I wanted to make this ship kind of as the start of a journey through the heavy cruisers of all nations at around this battle rating of 5.7. And this might be the greatest stinker, even though it looks promising in many aspects. And yeah, I struggled a lot with this ship, mainly due to the firepower and kind of the survivability. So a few things here up front. First of all, we have here 9 8-inch-55 Mark 14 cannons with a lot of ammunition. We have 8 5-inch 25s. We will come back to this in a moment. We have a lot of 40 and 20 millimeters, but we have no torpedoes, depth charges, mines, whatever. And usually you don't need them, but in this case, you know, I sometimes would love to have them. And the ship has no radar, but it has a float plane on the right hand side. So then it is relatively quick with 61 kilometers per hour. Let's talk about the armor, and the armor is a little bit of a mixed bag. First of all, the main belt is only 127 millimeters thick. It's not that thin. Compare this with the Hipper class, which we'll mention later on, which has only 80 millimeters, but there it has a turtleback behind it. The deck armor is 57 millimeters thick, which lets enemy shells ricochet a lot. And well, the thing is, it is more of a distributed armor scheme than an all or nothing one. Now, the belt, if you want to call it, where the magazine is, fore and aft, is less than 32 millimeters. But it's not a problem because the magazines are so low below the waterline that only steep plunging fire at long distances have a chance at all to hit it when you're angled, so you allow the shells to have some travel time through the ship itself. Now, there comes now the major drawbacks, and that is when we talk about the protection of the main armament. It is 127 millimeters for the barbettes. Now, that is not too bad. Again, the Hipper has, I think, only 80 millimeters. But here is the issue. Behind this is the ammo elevator, which is full of shells. So your propellant charges are very low below the waterline in the actual magazine. But if your actual barbette gets penetrated by an AP shell, it basically leads to a minor ammo detonation of the shells, and then they're gone. So the entire turret actually loses its ammunition, and you have to go into a cab and go through the horrible experience of a very slow reload, which in most battle scenarios of heavy cruisers is not the case. The front of the turrets has actually 203 millimeters of protection, yet they get knocked out on a regular basis. So then the ship just seems to lose crew quite a bit by HE or SAP shelling, and that is not okay. Now, the biggest problem that I have with the New Orleans is the main armament, especially when it comes to its effectiveness. So as you can see, I was actually struggling for roughly 3 minutes putting down that one Prinz Eugen, one of the Admiral Hipper classes, which took me roughly 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes. He didn't shoot back, and I was not shot at all by anybody else. I think somebody else also shot that ship, so despite salvo after salvo hitting, it didn't do enough damage. Maybe it was just really bad dispersion, but I had this issue through the majority of battles, and I think that the 8-inch Mark 19 AP CBC round was nerfed recently in terms of raw penetration. The muzzle velocity of 853 meters per second is nice, and it is a warhead with a TNT equivalent of only 1.62 kilograms. And the penetration at 1000 meters with 385 millimeters, that drastically has been nerfed I don't know when, it should have been recently, but at 10 kilometers you're going down to 244 millimeters, and that's not good. The stock SAP, the 8-inch Mark 14, is not that much different to the 8-inch Mark 17 SB Common, which is a tier 4 upgrade, but it feels so much more effective. And the 8-inch Mark 25 HC, high capacity or high explosive round, has nearly 9.5 kilograms of TNT, 61 millimeters of penetration, and that's it. So when we compare that together with the 17 seconds reload for the 8-inch guns to the German Admiral Hipper class, where we have 8 guns with 12 seconds of reload, and where the AP has 2.65 kilograms of TNT, is much faster with 925 meters per second mass velocity, and has a whopping 422 millimeters of penetration at 1,000 meters, and at 10 kilometers we have 277 millimeters of penetration, so that is 33 millimeters more. I don't think that makes a difference, but the Prinz Eugen never has really let me down. Further, we have no real salvation when it comes to the raw firepower at long range versus aircraft, because we have no radar and we don't have 5-inch 38s. And the problem with not having 5-inch 38s is that you have, with those 5-inch 25s, only time fuse and variable time fuse shells. Now, they are not bad, they are still working good if you see the aircraft coming, but you only have 4 barrels per side, not 6 or 8 compared to some other light or heavy cruisers in the US tech tree, and you have no radar to see them coming. Again, it's better than probably most other AA from the Italian or German tech tree because of the time fuse, but still, you know, in comparison to some other US ships, it's not that great. So I struggle a lot with this ship to make it work. I don't have that much problem with smaller ships because of the sheer volume of fire and, well, yeah, the TNT equivalent that I put out. But, you know, again, that's not a valid argument for the ship, because every light cruiser and the majority of other heavy cruisers would do better. Now, going back to the reload of 17 seconds. That is very similar to some other US heavy cruisers that are before there, like the USS Northampton, the USS New Orleans, Pensacola, Portland. I think they're all 17 seconds. But, you know, something like the Newport News and the Des Moines, both at 6.3, they have a whopping 6-second reload. The Japanese heavy cruisers, for instance, have 10 guns with 12 seconds reload, just like the IJN Miyoko, you know, that just makes so much of a difference in my experience when it comes to the raw IP performance, which, you know, should be mentioned and compared first, since you should at least be able in a competitive ship to fight your own class. So 17 seconds is also the reload that you have on the Italian RN Polar class, which made that ship quite the stinker for me for a very long time. Again, I have to replay it and I have to make a video about it to let you know how that has changed over the time, because it's been years since I played that ship. And yeah, it's also very similar to the reload of another ship that has also 3 triple turrets, sits at battle rating 7.0 and is called the Scharnhorst. And the Scharnhorst doesn't have a problem with dealing with cruisers, with any sort of cruisers. Yes, it's 11-inch guns, but it feels like a rapid fire monstrosity because the shells are also effective, because the armor works, because you have torpedoes for close range melees like we are about to witness here. And that also will cost me, because here I have to not continue the turn because I need to straighten my guns because the ship leans over so heavily. And this is why naval forces are not really a good environment for the majority of ships. Again, a Hipper class just would have spent a torpedo and watched the pretty explosions. Other ships have more secondaries, could use their main armament more efficiently. But again, one of my main turrets, the super firing in this case, actually has been hit, and the shells have disappeared, so I only have 2 turrets, so 6 guns with 17 seconds reload. Yes, that is still better than the Graf Spee in terms of DPM. But when you get hit by the shells of the Graf Spee, it makes a difference, right? So here we have the dubious honor of losing the game because we just struggled with the ship so much. And I really can't enjoy this. I struggle a lot with the ship at range, at close range, angling, not angling, putting down enemy ships despite hitting them repeatedly. It's not a nice experience. Let me know in the comment section what you think about it. Let me also know what you want to see next. And as usual, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Please give this video a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more, and we'll see each other on the battlefields, in the skies, and on the waves of War Thunder.